Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome to the Antisyphon stream, where we are going to be going over the meta CTF problem that will be retiring. And by retiring, it will just lose some of its points. But you can still complete the challenge just with less points. All right.
Yep, it'll be worth 25 points now.
Hey, OG Captain Crunch. Thanks for joining us. Let's see. Okay. I actually had not logged in, so let me log in. Okay. And I can share my screen here in a minute. This one probably won't take that long, but it is a fun little challenge. So let's.
Well, I think it's relevant because S3 is becoming way more common these days. So as we start talking about, blob storage like this, like it's becoming more and more relevant every time.
Exactly. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Share. All right. Hopefully you can see my screen okay. I adjusted the font size to make it a little bit bigger. All right. So the one that we're doing is called breaching buckets. It says, take a look at where this image is hosted and see if you can find the flag. Does anything stand out? So we can click on this image here. It's just this like old windmill, which is cool. We have
And if you do a lot of CTFs, you immediately say steganography and you start jumping down that route. That's not it.
Yes, that is true. Anytime there is photos, and then like you think, oh, it's not that, and then it ends up being that. Like every time, that's just how that works. So we have this image here. We can see that it's hosted on an S3 bucket on AWS under K Smith. This just seems like the S3 bucket, and then the file name here, folder file name. Now, there's a couple different ways to solve this. I know Noah solved it a little bit different than I did. And we can look and see, just mess around with these numbers a little bit and see that we have access to other files on other dates. And that is one way to just kind of brute force and just mess around with the numbers a little bit. What I personally did was I went to this Amazon S3 bucket here. And if you take off like the name and the files, you kind of have this list, which you can see here again, like the key. Then we have a date that it was modified, e-tag, all this, and you have a list of everything that is in this bucket specifically. So what I did, because I didn't use any tools, although there's certain tools that will allow you to just kind of brute force and download all these images off the bucket. If you did that, that's like a good way to do it too. It might be easier to do it that way depending. The one thing that I had noticed here is like these dates are all kind of different. So you can see here it's like 2018, and then we go up to, let's see if these are all in an order here. But I saw some that were in like 2020, 2019. So we have some 2019 here. But if you look at the last modified tag, this is where it gets kind of interesting because it looks like they were all last modified at the same time. So what I did was I'm going to copy and then control find and just look at like the last modified date here. And we can see almost all of these were modified at the same time, starting with 20. Now, if I wanted to check, like if I did 21, we can see that we have no matches for that. If you do 22, we have no matches. And then if you do 23, you can see that we have one match here. And I could probably zoom in on this a little bit too so that y'all can see this. Okay. So here we can see this was last modified at 23 hours when all of them were modified at 20. So let's take a look at this image. I just copy this and add it onto the end here. And if I zoom out now, I should just, here we go. We have our flag that says nothing like poking around badly named public S3 buckets. And if you put that into the meta CTF portion, right here, you will get the flag. So that's like not too bad, right?
That's a very uniquely elegant way of solving that. I know that I was looking at like the actual challenge solution, and the author put in they made this like long complex like Python script, and then there was like a solution too. It's like, or you could just brute force the date name. Both of those were like way more complex than what you just showed us here, and I think
Yeah.
that's really cool. I know, like I wrote this like really weird PowerShell like parser that was like select stringing a key and then splitting the key tags off and then like making the links and downloading them so I could look at them all. Like I think that's just really like I said, it's a really elegant solution. That
Yeah, I mean,
it's
you have
sometimes just the
to,
simple things, you know?
right. You have to notice patterns. So that is like one thing, just kind of taking a look, and it's like, okay, I can view every single one of these, but let me see if anything kind of stands out. And so you notice like, oh, like all of these were modified at the same time. Were they all modified at the same time? Or is there like one off or two off that might be different that I can kind of take a look at? So
Yeah.
that's how I did it. And it wasn't too bad. Like you said, I mean, making a script is great too, because when you get the experience, which I should probably do because it would give me more experience. But I'm just like, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. And so
I mean,
just like,
I don't know that totally is like the hacker way. That the hacker way is a little bit of like, yeah, no, you made this really obvious here, and I do love. I wonder if the author of the challenge, when they made this, if they left that as like an on purpose thing that you might find, or if that's one of those unintended solutions. That unintended solutions. Whenever you see those like write ups for Hack the Box or other challenges, and they have unintended solutions. I love those. Like those are the best. They're way
yeah.
more fun than even the regular solutions. So
Yeah, I think so too. I think on my application here, when I had to do some Meta CTF challenges, I like found one thing that had an unintended solution, and they're like, "I don't think you should be able to do that." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. It took me forever to do those." So.
I know I wrote a few CyberRange challenges, and I like sent some off to other people in the SOC. I'm like, hey, will you try this? And specifically, one of the SOC analysts came back and like, yeah, I solved it in like 35 seconds. I'm like, how did you do that? Like this
Yeah,
was supposed to take like at least 5 minutes, and it was just like, oh, I just did this one thing, and you're like, well, I wish I would have. Now I have to go delete that one log. Thank you for that.
yeah,
So
funny. All right, let's see. Hey, why not? Hello, Kimbro, welcome. OG Captain Crunch said this is why, or that's why everyone maintaining S3 should have a script to ensure all their buckets have correct security settings.
absolutely.
Yes.
Like, don't just set up S3 and assume it's set up correctly. There's a few default settings that even like make it a little more vulnerable. So you definitely want to like go and review those S3
Yeah.
settings.
The early days of cloud was fun because I
Oh
feel like
yeah.
it reminded me of like early days of actual just the internet in general, where it's like all of these things that people are discovering at once. But luckily it's getting better.
It's getting better, but there'll still be new technologies, and they'll be, equally easy to exploit as time goes on. I think it's really easy to get tied up, and we'll hear the old hacker stories of like, oh yeah, I used to just get a Captain Crunch whistle and blow into the phone. And I got free calls, and we're like, man, it must have been so easy to be a hacker back then. Like we have similar problems. It's just different technologies.
Right.
Yeah, the phones are more secure, but we have S3 buckets that are sitting just completely unprotected out there too. So
Yeah. I feel like I get a lot of questions regarding cloud from like a network engineering perspective, because for me, I'm like in my head, I'm like thinking, hey, if you're a network engineer, like I think that includes cloud personally, for me. Although I think some companies have dedicated engineers specifically for cloud, but I
yep,
think that's kind of just one of those talents that you should have. Um, because underneath it all, it's all data center, right? And it's all like
yep,
virtualization and understanding how those things work. So if you kind of already have a really good understanding of virtualization, operating systems, networking, cloud is not that difficult to kind of migrate over to. From a security perspective, it's a little interesting, right? Because we have these weird like URLs and domains, and like numbers and keys. So it is a little bit, I think it's easier to learn how to maintain and configure cloud than securing securing it
Right.
or exploiting it personally. But
Yep.
cool. Well, we only have that one today, y'all. Which, if you got it, congratulations. If you didn't, you can still solve it for some points, just not the full value, which is great. And I think next week, what is next? Is next week holiday week, or is it the week after that?
Well, so next week we're going to do a release for the CyberRange, but we're not going to do a retirement because
Okay.
the retirement would be on the 28th, which is
Yeah.
holiday week.
Are we doing anything for the
So
holiday?
for the holidays, we debated about whether or not we were going to do a holiday themed like CTF ourselves, but honestly, the holiday hackfest / KringleCon is, KringleCon. Like, go do the Sans holiday hack challenge. It's awesome. That's where we talked about it. And we're like, well, that's what we're gonna be playing. So y'all come over there.
Yeah, I should look into that and see if they allow streaming of that. Sometimes they don't, which I
Absolutely.
get nervous, but we could, maybe if I have some free days, I can hop on and do some challenges. But
yeah, last year was super fun. They had like you could like walk around this like town. I remember specifically I had to learn like the dial-up preamble, which was new for me. I didn't actually know, I just knew the sound. I didn't like, you could play it and be like, oh, it's dial-up, but I didn't know like what it was negotiating. You had to like tell it what baud speed had been negotiated or something. It was wild. There's some good stuff there.
Yeah. Well, I've been doing the Try Hack Me Advent of Cyber, and we did one yesterday where it was like hacking a game, where they had a little game and you needed to hack the memory. And that was a lot of fun and totally new to me. I'm like, I have never used this tool or done this before. But it was really cool explanation and just like an easy, fun way to learn how to do it, so
yeah, memory hacking is like both like extremely fun and extremely irritating at the exact same time sometimes.
Yeah, I did get a little frustrated. But when I found it, it's like, oh yeah, thank goodness, we're good now, this is over. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. So that's what I've been doing. But yeah, we'll be doing some other stuff soon, and we do releases bi-weekly, don't we?
Yeah, that's what we try to do.
So it's like the opposite week of whatever we do the retirement.
Yep. So we released last week. We'll release next week, and then we do retirement in the other week. So
cool, good
so
stuff.
So there'll be a release on the 28th, and then there'll be a release, or not the 28th. I said that wrong. Release on the 21st, and then another release on the 4th.
Sweet. All right, everyone. Do we have any questions in the chat about this challenge, or if you solved it a different way than I did? Or used a tool? Like, there's got to be a tool just to dump everything in an S. Sure that there is. I just did not.
I did some rudimentary Googling and found that there's like a tool called like Lazy S3 that supposedly will enumerate all that stuff out, but it's Ruby and I don't understand Ruby, so I can't confirm if it does or does not. I'm gonna be honest.
Nice. All right, everyone. Well, if there's no questions in the chat, we can wrap this up. But the video will be available on YouTube for people that are just coming in now or missed it. But yeah. All right. Well, bye everybody. I'm gonna kill it with fire. We will see you probably not next week, but the week after that. So I don't know. I should know the schedule. Anyway, all right.
We have
bye everyone.